So in this video, what I want to do is respond to a question that in one form or another I receive very, very often in this work. And that question is, what do I do to protect myself against people's negative energies or so-called negative emotions? Sometimes that question shows up very precisely, very specifically, because I'm working with someone who is therapist or an energy healer or a yoga teacher or a naturopath or a coach who's working in very deep ways and very healing context with individuals and people's pain, people's wounding, people's suffering, people's unprocessed emotion and energy is kind of coming forward. So there's one version of that question that's very specific in sort of healing modalities. And then there's a broader, more general version of the same question from folks who have a little bit more deeper feeling sensitivities or empathic natures in this life, and they're asking about, sort of going out in public or families or in-laws or friendship circles or whatever, and they're often feeling bombarded, work settings, whatever it may be, by just all the stuff that's flying around. And it's certainly the case if you are a person who feels to any degree our culture, our world, our society, however you want to name it, is one that's predicated on people being profoundly dysregulated, and their emotion and energies are just kind of flying everywhere. We're not typically taught how to be responsible for our own energy, for what we're really fundamentally putting out into life, and taking a sense of an ethic, a care, a responsibility, a sense that what I put out can absolutely impact and affect other people. So I empathize deeply with the feeling underneath this question of what do I do to protect myself. However, what I want to say here is I think the question is wrongly framed. I think if we approach it as a question of protection, then we set up a sort of weird dynamic, and we set up a problematic dynamic, honestly. Because if we approach the question of protecting myself from other people's so-called negative energies or emotions, we're giving other people's energy and emotion the dominant active role. Protection immediately creates imagery and a mood of fear. I need to be protected. So all of a sudden, other people's energies become more powerful than I am. And then I have to think about building up walls or strange sorts of energy practices to create a sense of being sort of protected. I don't want to be touched by the world. And I think this creates a very fear-based position. It increases anxiety, is my experience. So while I think the underlying impulse, the underlying motivation is very accurate, the framework of protection is what I want to criticize and offer an alternative frame of reference and an alternative way to approach this topic. And that is from a point of view of empowerment. How is it that you might adopt a posture of being, a disposition, a fundamental way of being, so that you feel safe in yourself, so that you feel contained, so that you feel in touch with your own power, with a consistent sense of stability, of being collected, calm, centered, grounded, active and engaged, relaxed, but very powerful. When you hold that kind of disposition, then other people's stuff does not really kind of glom on to us. I wanted to say there it doesn't affect us, but that's not quite right. Because the idea here is not to become cold, it's not to become walled off, it's not to become disconnected or, detached or checked out. It's not to create a false sense of imperviousness. We are aware, we are attuned to what is going on for other people. So it may touch us, but it doesn't have that kind of stinging quality. It doesn't have a sticky residue. It doesn't have an adhesive kind of sense where it starts to stick, or where it becomes like, the image I have is like the old barnacles on an old ship, and they just kind of, they're hunkered in there, and then they just start kind of multiplying. A lot of people are carrying a lot of barnacles, energies that aren't theirs, and those just need to really be cut off. So again, rather than a protection-based model which creates fear, there's big scary energies out there, and I need to create some kind of fortress, or I need armor, or I need some special magical protections or whatever to protect myself from this bad juju that's coming my way that other people are putting out. And it can, even in the worst cases, create a kind of like, I don't know, quasi-paranoia, like there's bad energies going around everywhere and I can't control them. That's not good. An empowerment-based model is, I feel confident in my own being. I feel contained in my own power, my own alertness, my own ability to regulate myself. And when that is what is cultivated, when we focus on thinking, how can I develop that disposition, then we're asking the right question. If we ask the question about how do we get protection, we're disempowering ourselves, and we're needing some other magical amulet type kinds of experiences that somebody else has to do for us, or some whatever needs to occur. When we ask instead, how is it that I may maintain a disposition of gentle, persuasive, collective power in life? When you ask that question, then you're guided in the right direction. Because that's the right question to ask, I think. It's not about protection, it's about empowerment. So if you ask yourself, if you inquire how you may start to feel your own power and disposition, then I think you'll be better served.